Julie Wallach here, the Survivor Coach. Good to be with you again. I help people who are sexual assault survivors and other types of betrayal trauma survivors. Really, I'm just, I'm so heartbroken that we even have to do this, but here we are. So I want to be able to support you and help you and potentially work with you to move to a different place deeply in your roots, in your marrow. So today we are going to be talking about why you can't leave that relationship. You want to leave, you've left before and gone back, probably a million times. You don't know what's wrong with you. People around you are telling you, you got to get out. What are you doing? I don't like who you are when you're with this person. And you don't even really like the person. You don't like the person you're with, and you don't like who you are with that person. But you can't go. You don't leave. And no matter how much you want to, you just feel like you cannot leave. And it's heartbreaking. So we're going to talk it through and we're going to get to a place where it might just be a healing moment. You might not pick up and leave right away, but you might start to feel like, oh, I understand it now. Let me get into the deeper healing here. So when you were a child, you didn't have a choice about where you lived or who you depended on. You didn't have a voice. So you didn't have a choice and you didn't have a voice. Sound familiar? And in that process, you learn what it feels like to be trapped. You have that understanding that the people that you count on for not only your primary needs, but all of your needs and your wants and your hobbies and your everything is not being met. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. You're trapped. So there you are as a child and you're trapped. And what you really want is love and support and to be attuned to and to be reflected back to and to not be neglected and to feel like there are people in your life who have your back consistently over time, emotionally and physically, and that show up when they say they're going to be there and they're reliable. But when all of that is a mess, you're trapped and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you talk back, then you get in trouble for that. And if you say what you want, you get in trouble for that. And if you set a boundary, you get in trouble for that. So really, you're at the mercy of these people. As an adult, you're mimicking that piece, that trapped piece. You needed to stay contained someplace. It was better at that house than it was to be on the street. Like, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? So, as bad as it is, it's better than not having it at all, which is devastating. And you're not developed enough. You're not mature enough. You don't understand abstract concepts like this person is, incapable. It doesn't even phase you. You just need what you need, right? So that's then how you define closeness. That's how you start to say to yourself, well, these are the people I'm close to, and this is what the relationship's like. And then it continues on in adulthood, and you don't make that conscious connection. So you just think it's a very separate thing, but it's not. And, you know, let's also think about this. When you're underdeveloped as a child, you're not getting into the nuances of how you feel about all of this, but you definitely would panic or, um, and be disoriented if you were a child and, somebody said to you, oh, you don't like it? There's the door. You'd be out of your mind scared. So there is no stability in your thoughts, even of, I can count on this. And that piece is also part of what happens when you cannot leave that icky, awful relationship as an adult. So you can be totally clear about who the person is and what you don't like and why you don't want to stay and how awful you become in that relationship to yourself. Constant self-betrayal, chronic stress, cortisol flooding, adrenaline every 2 minutes, all of that. You think you're in a choice situation, but you're not because you are being run and governed by what was. Typical story of childhood wounds, but this is a very specific one. And especially if you've been abused, it is like this on steroids. It's so intense, so intense. So you are either going to ask for what you need or you're not. But either way, you might not get it. It's nobody's really leading the way for you to get what you need, right? But if you advocate for yourself as a child, you still might not get it. And so the answer is that you don't get what you need. That's what registers. So then you carry it over and you don't take up space and you don't ask for what you need over time. You end up mimicking that same feeling of I'm going to just be quiet and I'm not going to object because if I do, I'm going to be in trouble and I might get very hurt, not just physically, emotionally, in all the ways. So, what's interesting is that you are actually highly attuned when you are an adult and you are living in this and staying in this. You know exactly what's going on. And you did as a child too. You could feel it. It's nonverbal a lot of the time. It doesn't call itself by a name, but you know what it feels like to not be safe in your home and to not have anywhere to go. And so you start to connect safety to just being under that roof, right? You're you're sheltered. There's a storm outside. You're sheltered inside, and that starts to feel safe, even if what's inside is not safe. And it's so hard to shake it. So, what happens when we're in these relationships, calling our friends, I don't know what to do. He or she is awful and they manipulate and they make it seem like something's wrong with me if I speak up. I can't go. I'm afraid. I don't want them to retaliate. I know the kind of people they are and I can't trust them to be safe if I do say I want out. Oftentimes these relationships are riddled with coercive control where the person is possessive and they don't want you to have a life and they decide what you're going to do and who you're going to do it with and what you're going to wear. And if you don't like that, you get in big trouble. Also, just what happens as a child. So you start questioning yourself. You're like, what is actually wrong with me that I am tolerating these things? But if you see it through the eyes of the child that had no choice but to stay, it's a lot different. I mean, of course, we're going to say, well, where else would the child go? They're going to call CPS on their parents. So, what do you do about it? I mean, I think just learning this can activate a huge cascade of emotion and can start to put pieces together. And you have this moment of clarity, and then you say, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? And it's about going back in, describing what it was like when you were a child and you couldn't leave and people were hurting you, and get into the pain of that and the grief that you grieve what you never had. You grieve the loss of something you never even had. The feeling of emotional neglect will come in. The feeling of chronic betrayal will come in. The feeling that the person that you're with as an adult is not seeing that wounded child because be s it would be a threat to them to really see you and attune to you and connect with you in this very specific way. You wouldn't go to this partner and say, "I feel like I felt as a child." They would just eat it up for breakfast and manipulate the shit out of you, because that's how this works. So then you end up staying longer. You don't doubt yourself, but you don't know what to do. And so this freedom piece of I'm in this cage, I'm locked in the cage, someone opens the cage door and I stay inside the cage because freedom is very strange and unfamiliar, and I don't even know what I would do out there. Do I even have what I need? Is there enough of whatever I need? It's almost like your parents or caregivers as a child open the door and say, "Well, you don't like it here, you can go." Of course you're not going to go. So it's starting to take one step out. It's learning while you're still in the cage about what went on in there, looking around, seeing the pain, picking it up, crying about it, screaming about it. You've got to really be in a safe and contained space that then you can create your own containment where you're not trapped in a cage, but you're contained, you're safe in your ability to work with yourself and in your nervous system to help yourself through really scary moments when you're out there outside of the cage saying, I don't know how to fly. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. A person who's been in prison for 20 years, they get out. What are they supposed to do? How do they even begin navigating their lives? That's how this feels. And so this is not about loyalty to your relationship. It's not about you being a hot mess and you just don't leave because you like having a miserable life. You can start to untangle these pieces, really see that the freedom in your life that is so scary is possible in digestible bits over time, little bits at a time, building in self-trust, taking little itty bitty risks. A lot of people talk about like save up your money, get a couple jobs, have a private bank account, all of those things. Maybe they're true and maybe they are helpful. They're also really hard to do and a lot of people don't. So it's getting that safety in your whole body about what it would feel like to potentially leave and to take it back to the roots. That's where the healing's going to really start. And you're going to have some accuracy around what actually happened and be able to separate those things out so that as an adult, you can make different decisions. If you want support as you do this, I've got you. Find me at thesurvivorcoach.com. I would love to help.